Hey guys, so I'm going to do this video a little different today. I just want to explain some changes to my training. You know, we are through the first 7 weeks here of this series, and I deemed it necessary to change course a little bit on the squat plan. So right now I feel like bench is going well, albeit bench was a lot tougher yesterday. 10 sets of 5 with 125 kilos, 275. Reason being, partially because I'm still using the squat bar to bench with. We got our new Ohio power bar in yesterday. I might just spit, my bad. So that's a brand new black oxide Ohio power bar, which I can now use to bench on. Gonna be much better than benching on the squat bar. But the other thing, I haven't pinned in 10 days, so this was stupid. I ran out of test. Should be getting that pretty soon, but my test levels are tanked right now, and everything feels heavy. But as far as squats, so feel confident about the way bench is going. I feel good about the deadlift plan as far as doing all the sets, hook grip, and building that up. Problem with squats is, this is something I came to the conclusion of a while ago too. One time I was doing yoga all the time, and I actually almost became more immobile. And with what I've been doing now with the plan, it's not really working. You know, I'm getting left lateral knee pain. My disc is getting riled up sometimes. My hips feel like crap. My stance has been too wide, which I do need to squat with a wider stance because my femurs connect laterally on the hip sockets. My hip sockets are laterally connected. Some people's hip sockets attach anteriorly in the front, and that's when you see people who can squat with a very narrow Olympic stance and their feet pointed ahead. I can't really do that. My hip sockets attach on the side. So I have to squat with a wider stance and point my toes out more than other people. It just depends on your structure. I also have longer femurs, so that explains part of the reason why I squat the way I do, but it was still a little too wide, and it was causing some of these problems. But it's a matter of stretching, and mobility doesn't necessarily work like people think it will. I do think it's important to do a little mobility work for 20 minutes or so before each training day. Even on bench, I do a 20-30 minute upper body warm-up for my elbows and shoulders. But it can be overdone, and it won't produce the results in terms of directly applying to the main lift you're trying to focus on. So I noticed I wasn't getting any more mobile on squats. It wasn't helping the way I thought it should. So I thought back to what worked the best, and what worked the best when I was at my strongest on squats was going into Boss of Bosses 2.5 years ago. At that meet, I squatted a very, very easy 733 on the second attempt, and I had 783 on the bar, which is the most I've ever had on the bar. On my third attempt, when I tore my vastus lateralis on the way down. And the thing about that is, if you look at those squats, those were my most technically proficient, good-looking squats, and everything felt amazing. And I definitely 100% think the 783 was going to be there if the quad didn't tear. And that kind of freaked me out when that happened because, you know, when you tear something under 800 pounds and then 2 months later see Mark Miller 15 feet away looking at him on the platform tear both quad tendons, it kind of freaks you out. You see these horrific injuries, and I've had some fear with squats. Like squats, the one lift that kind of freaks me out still. And I've let this kind of get to me. So I looked at the game plan. What did I do going into that? I was squatting 3-4 days a week, high bar, pause squats initially, beltless initially, I think bare knee initially, but don't quote me on that. And it worked wonders. My squat was more stable than ever. I wasn't shaky at all on the walkout with 800 pounds, with 783 I mean, and I had the strength that day. So I looked at that and I was like, you know, that was the most mobile I've ever been as well. And my butt wink was all but eliminated towards the very end. So what did I do for that? And and I looked at that, and that's what I need to be doing. So initially with that, I started out, I was wearing Olympic shoes, and I still had plates under my feet, and I squatted like that. And what that did was it built up my mobility enough to where I took the plates out, and I could squat without them. And I still had some butt wink, but over time, the butt wink became less and less, and I became more and more stable and stronger. And that's what I think I need to get back to, so that's what I'm gonna do. And you know, I've heard it all, people criticizing you have so much butt wink, and you look like a dog pooping and all this stuff and whatever. You know, it doesn't bother me, I've heard it all, guys. And it just is going to improve. So I'm going to take my lumps the first month or two here, and then I think at that point things are really going to make a turn for the better. What this is also going to allow me to do is I won't be killing my joints, because my joints were getting destroyed from doing 200-pound squats because my form felt like such garbage, and there was so much impingement from where I tore my hip labrum 8 years ago. So I did tear my right hip labrum right in the groin 8 years ago. I could have had surgery on this. It definitely probably needs surgery because it is so impinged. It's like, think of this, you're going down in a squat and your left side feels completely fine, like you could drop ass to floor, but then your right side just hits a brick wall and you stick. So I get this sticking sensation where I just can't go any further because my femur's jamming up into my hip socket, and then I shift more of my weight into my left side and it causes all sorts of problems. So I actually was able to kind of break up the scar tissue and open that hip up going into that meet where I squatted the 783 where I was going to. Most I've squatted is 772 in a meet, the 783 would have been there without the tear. But basically I was able to break up the scar tissue and open up that hip by doing what I'm about to do. So I just deemed it necessary to change things because I felt like this wasn't working as far as what I was doing on squats, and I needed to change course on that, which is what I'm doing now. Bench, I'm going to continue on the same trajectory. Same with deadlifts. I feel really good about those. Deadlifts have been benefiting from the supinated pull-ups and then the natural glute ham raises. So hitting my lats and hamstrings a bit more is helping my deadlift, I feel like. But we just need to go back to what worked on squats before, and the mobility will come by training the movement. I fully believe that. Mobility will come by training the movement, even if we have to do things a little strangely in the beginning. So I'm confident in the plan. I think it's all going to work, but I just want to touch base with you guys and let you guys know kind of what we're doing here. You have to be willing to change course. And I feel like too, I said it in the Steve Gentili podcast and another podcast, I do feel like tons of people have written me off. I can just look at, I'm not as relevant anymore, and it puts a big chip on my shoulder. I train well with a chip on my shoulder. When I feel discounted, when I feel like people have forgotten, it puts a chip on my shoulder and it brings the best out in me. So I feel motivated to get my name relevant again in the 242 weight class. Since the meet, in the deadlift only meet in Tulsa, I've lost 15 pounds. And a lot of that is from being off the drugs, the water weight coming down. But the other thing is I've been on the natural thyroid medication for the last 2 weeks now, and that's definitely helping my weight come down as well because my TSH is now functioning properly. So that's been huge for me. And actually, we're going to do an interview with a thyroid doctor, thyroid specialist for one of my podcasts. This guy's great. He's super knowledgeable. He's helped me out immensely. His name is Kevin Morgan. He has literally helped me square this all away. And he's provided so much knowledge on the industry as far as big pharma and how things are with general practitioners and how your health should be with thyroid function and all this good stuff. So I want to get him on. We'll talk to him and you guys will learn a lot about that. But yeah, here are my squats for today. I'm going to show those, and I'm going to show you guys the squats from Boss of Bosses. If you're interested in coaching, shoot me an email at prstrength1@gmail.com. I will put that link in the description. Appreciate it, guys. Jim's coming along. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so this is the aforementioned meet, and this was my opener at 672 pounds, 305 kilos. Like I said, this was the strongest my squat has ever been and the best my squat has ever looked. So I do a lot of my training with high bar. That's the primary bulk of my training. And then I squat low bar on meets to utilize my low back strength. So right here, here's your opener. Felt rock solid. Easy work. That's how you want an opener to look. Truthfully, like all your openers should always look about that easy. Preferentially. This is 332.5 kilos, 733 pounds. Second attempt, so went up about 60 pounds here. And this one was rock solid as well. So this was kind of the one that gave me a big confidence boost that a PR was going to be in the cards. Who knows, maybe there was even a little more than 355 kilos, but obviously the quad gave out. So this one, 733, second attempt. Everything's locked in, feels solid here. Go down. Pretty smooth. And at that point, I shook my head because I was like, wow, that felt amazing. I was pretty happy with how it felt, and I knew there was going to be a shot at a PR. So right here's the 355, and this is where I tear my vastus lateralis, the outer quad. But when I walked this out and on the way down, I was telling myself the whole time, I was like, I've got this. Feels rock solid. They all felt rock solid. I've said that 1,000 times now, but you get the gist. And I just knew that some big numbers were going to happen here. So hopefully my computer doesn't die before this video is made. But yeah, this is when the magic happens on the way down. So right there, tore the quad at the bottom, and that was all she wrote. Pretty unfortunate, but what are you gonna do? So back to today, like I was talking about, 4 sets of 10 with 287, 130 kilos paused, high bar. And like I said, my heels are even more elevated, and I'm just trying to maximize the ankle mobility here. So I'm gonna keep working at these, and obviously I'll take the plates out in a week or two. But I'm just starting here, seeing how things feel, and I'll be more stable without the plates. So weight, it feels good to actually move some actual weight with no issues and no straining of my joints. My joints felt great throughout this whole movement, so it's really fun to just get back to like hitting some actual weight and feeling things out again. And I think this is just going to have a much better long-term carryover. Now, it is true that, just like I talked about earlier, butt wink is going to happen for some people depending on how deep you go. So one of the determining factors with butt wink is just how deep you're going. And I'm sinking these pretty far down. Obviously, you don't want butt wink to this extent. Like, it should be less than this, and I think it will be over time. But I think we're on track here. I think this is a good starting point to build off of. And that was a really easy set of 10. That was set number 2. So good starting point. Felt like, really easy. I've been doing the split squat, so my quad strength is actually pretty good. This was the last set here. And like I said, my computer's probably going to die in any second, but you'll see the rest here. So this is the last set. 4th set here. Feels good. Just feels everything felt on point today. I'm excited to actually squat again because it's not very exciting to stretch and do mobility work for over an hour and then your squats still feel like garbage. So I think we got a good base here to build off of. And I'll, change up the rep schemes and the number of sets on the other days. But I think for now we're going to do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split with squats. I'm going to try to go beltless as long as I can and try to go bare knee as long as I can and just build things up from scratch. And that should put us on the right track. So pretty dang happy with where things are at as of now. Obviously, I could have done a lot more than this, but things felt strong, and that's the big thing here. So I know this has a lot of potential. This is the same kind of base I used going into Boss of Bosses. And basically with me, if I hit a big squat in the meet, it's going to be a good day. If my squats feel off or I don't hit a big squat, it's going to be a bad day. So I feel like squat sets the tone, and as long as I can hit a squat PR on meet day, then everything else is going to come together. And my confidence in bench is higher than ever, so I feel good about that. This was the top single for the day. What we're doing here, I was talking about this with my client. He posts on here a lot, Sebi, and he brought up the idea of like heavy singles, and heavy singles are something I've done in the past, but the problem is people get carried away with the heavy singles and go way too heavy, and it throws off their peak. So if you do heavy singles, you got to keep in that RP 6-7 range, which is obviously 402. I can squat that in my sleep, but it's still 120 pounds more than what I did during the session. So good starting point there. And